Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Agriculture in a Nutshell. Today is another one of my little personal episodes, and today I felt like talking about just updating you guys on how our pecans are turning out. By the time you guys are going to be hearing this, we will have already harvested them, which is kind of a big deal for us, actually. This is going to be the first year that we've actually ever harvested our pecans, because they've kind of been stunted due to within the last decade, 5 years, 6 years, the flooding that we've had in California. Where our pecans are at are on a floodplain, and so unfortunately in their infancy, they were subdued to way too much water for way too long of a time, and so a lot of them ended up dying and or being stunted or needing to be replanted, and that all happened over the course of like 3 or 4 years. We had a few years there where it flooded consistently, and so unfortunately that led to, like I said, a lot of needing for replants and a lot of stunted growth and a lot of like poor development on the actual pecan tree side of things. So, but this year we've had enough years in a row now to where the trees that did take on or were replanted have had enough time to develop into actual productive trees. So I think we're going to finally have a harvest worth harvesting this year, or finally have a crop worth harvesting this year. And so that's pretty exciting. But like I said, by the time you guys are listening to this, that will have already had happened. So wish us luck, because at the time of recording this, we're about probably a week or two away, weather permitting, from shaking them and picking them up and doing all that kind of stuff. So hopefully by the time you guys are listening to this, we're all enjoying some pecan pie and some roasted honey roasted pecans and all the good sweet treats that can be made from pecans, because I'm impartial to the sweet treats part of things. I don't know how much I would enjoy just eating raw pecans. They would need some flavoring, in my opinion. Same with walnuts. Walnuts are very similar in that regard. I much prefer walnuts to be candied in some sort of way or flavored in some sort of way in order to make them more palatable. But that's just me. That's my personal preference. But yeah, that's the pecans. I'm very much so looking forward to seeing how much tonnage and like all that kind of stuff that we get from our little crop that we've got going on. And then it'll also be good because when we're done harvesting, we can go out there and kind of cherry pick which trees need to be taken out and like what irrigation lines need to be taken out, because we're just gonna basically punt on part of the field in which, or part of the orchard in which we are growing some of the pecans, just because it's not worth it at this point to keep going back and trying to patchwork this orchard. I think we're just gonna keep what's good and then get rid of what's not. So yeah, as soon as we're done harvesting with that, I think that's going to be the next steps. As of what I've been doing to contribute to these pecans, I've been weed whacking my heart away still in between the trees, knocking down a bunch of Johnson grass, and Bermuda grass in particular has been the main culprit right now, because when we go to shake, if there's any Bermuda grass left in between, like underneath the trees and around the trees, around the sprinkler heads and stuff like that, when we go to sweep after we shake, then a bunch of the nuts get stuck in there, and so we don't want that. Obviously, the more nuts that get stuck in between in Bermuda grass, the less nuts we get to actually harvest and reap the rewards of. Back to the whole candied pecan concept. Less candied pecans for me if there's Bermuda grass eating it before I get the chance to. So not ideal. So what I've been doing is I've just been absolutely grinding it out with a weed whacker, just trying to get all the Bermuda grass I can and all the Johnson grass that's way tall and all that kind of stuff in between the trees knocked down before we harvest. And so it's a tedious process, but it's very satisfying to weed whack. However, I will say it's been kind of rainy and damp these last couple weeks, and by last couple weeks I mean it's rained a few times, and that makes Bermuda grass turn into like Bermuda mud. And Bermuda mud is not the easiest thing to cut through with a weed whacker, and it also takes a very long time. But thankfully, I've been developing my skills when it comes to weed whacking quite significantly. And so I've developed a few strategies, tricks of the trade, if you will, to kind of more efficiently get around the wet Bermuda grass that turns into like just this. It's almost like a sludge, like a compact mud type thing, but it's not mud because it's Bermuda grass. But I don't know. It's much more difficult to cut through whenever it's like that and dewy and wet and whatever than it is whenever it's bone dry or had been sprayed recently and had died and all that kind of stuff. Like green Bermuda grass is much more difficult to cut than yellow Bermuda grass from being killed. So just a little tips and tricks. But yeah, I've just been working my way through the field, trying to get all that stuff done as best as I can. Try and get as many, the way I see it is the more Bermuda and the more weeds I can get cut down in between the pecan trees, the more pecans that we can actually have to use and eat and sell and all this kind of good stuff. So I'm trying to contribute to what we call the science project, which is the pecan orchard that we have. I'm trying to contribute to the science project's success. And so if that means spending all day long with a weed whacker and some nice tunes in my ear, cutting down Bermuda sludge and Johnson grass and all kinds of clovers and all this kind of other stuff, then so be it. I also wanted to just kind of point out the fact and give a little shout out to my grandpa, Dillon Brush, the star of the show, and just say that I have personally, on a personal note, very much so enjoyed recording and filming and editing and all the things that come with this podcast, and enjoyed very much so spending time with Bill and all this kind of good stuff. To make this product, to share with as many people as we can, basically, as many people who are interested as possible. And I just wanted to say that I very much so enjoy this whole project that we've put together and have been doing for the last couple years, and it's been very, very fun, and I am very happy to continue to do it, and we'll hopefully be able to do it for many, many years to come in some form or another. We really hope to start here eventually doing some actual videos, like recorded videos, where you could actually watch something rather than just listening to it via like a podcast. I would like to implement some more like video content, like I was saying, where Bill's either lecturing or actually out in a garden somewhere or in a field, an orchard, maybe even a pecan orchard, I don't know, something like that. But I would really like to see how that goes, trial that out a little bit. So make sure to stay tuned and up to date on your Agriculture in a Nutshell episodes, because that could be soon to come, very soon to come. I think it would add a different type of perspective to what Bill's having to say, like a more relatable perspective. It'd probably be easier to understand some of the concepts that he discusses if you can actually see what he's talking about, or at the very least, just put a face to the name, which is always good to have, because I feel like that makes what we're talking about much more relatable in a lot of ways. So just like I said, stay tuned, and hopefully that is something that is not too far away in the future. I also want to talk about how feel free to leave comments on our videos. We very much so appreciate any type of feedback. If there's a topic that you guys want to talk about, or you want to have Bill talk about, then he's more than happy to address almost anything that you guys could think of in as far as it pertains to ag and ag related things. So just if you're ever curious about anything, or want to hear Bill explain something in a certain way, or want him to re-go over something that we've already talked about in the past, then absolutely feel free to leave a comment and we'll get to you and hopefully put out an episode pertaining to whatever it is that you're interested in. I know that we've got a few comments before in the past, and we're working on getting out the videos to reply to them, basically. I know one in particular, I won't say what, but it's coming up and I'm looking forward to it, so just stay tuned for that. But yeah, if you guys have any sort of curiosities about anything in ag, then be sure to leave a comment and ask about it, because we can definitely discuss it. But yeah, I think that's going to conclude today's episode. I kind of want to just keep this one a little bit short, just a little quick update on how things are going, and a little update on the pecans. Hopefully, like I said, wish us luck. But yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying these little individual episodes here and there periodically, and as always, keep on listening to Bill spread his wealth of knowledge, and also, as always, stay curious.